What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Pick Six Podcast, CBS Sports Daily NFL Podcast. I'm Will Brinson. I'm your host, and oh, baby, do we have a good Thursday night game to preview for you now. It's a short podcast. Of course, we will have in the feed, or already in the feed, is the DFS preview for the entire weekend. We will preview the DFS for Eagles and Giants. If you're such and look, I'm such a degenerate that I will play it, so you can too. There will be the best bets podcast in the feed tomorrow, and you can check us out at 4:00 every day of the week, except for Tuesdays because of Champions League, on CBS Sports HQ. Joining me now to look at this beaut of a matchup between the Giants and the Eagles, RJ White. What's up, RJ?
Don't make fun of this game. I mean, one of these teams might be in the playoffs by the time we get.
One of these teams will be in first. Well, if the Eagles win, they're in first place, right?
Yeah. Well, I think they're tied with Dallas, and then because they'll have one game more, but they have the tie, so I think they'll have the same record, 2-4, right?
Well, they'd be 2-4-1. Is 2-4-1 better or worse?
So they'd be tied until Dallas plays.
Oh, right. So if Dallas loses to Washington, they would be in first place.
Right.
But this is actually a huge game. I mean, it is stupid that one of these teams will go to the playoffs, but I mean, look, you get to the playoffs, you get healthy. I mean, we saw the Panthers 7-8-1 demolish the Cardinals of Ryan Lindley in the playoffs a few years back. So you never know.
I can't wait until week 17, assuming that we get this schedule under control and play all the games that we're supposed to. Then week 17, you always have divisional matchups. So I can't wait to see what the NFC East divisional matchup is that's going to decide who goes to the playoffs between, the 5-8-1 or 10-1, 9-1 Eagles and the 6-9 Cowboys. That'd be crazy.
Well, this is weird. For some reason, the futures tab on William Hill is empty. That's odd. I was expecting to ask you would you bet on anything for the NFC title? Because I tend to think that the Eagles, I can't believe I'm saying this, are good value right now. They should beat the Giants tonight. They're 4.5-point favorites. They're plus 130 or plus 160, depending on where you look, to win the NFC East. Shouldn't we be hammering the Eagles to win the NFC East?
Yeah, if you're just talking NFC East, I think Eagles are probably the best bet. They've been so beat up, and they're going to get healthy at some point. They're going to get somewhat healthy. Some of those guys that got hurt on the offensive line aren't coming back, but a lot of these playmakers are coming back. The defense looks like probably the best defense in the division. I will include Washington in that because I don't know that Washington does a lot well, but they do have a good front. Eagles have a good front as well, but I think they have a better secondary. So I think they could win this division as long as they don't keep, you assume that they're going to get healthy. People are going to come back. But what if somebody else gets hurt? Because it just seems like every week the Eagles have one or two more key injuries that they're dealing with.
Yeah. Fortunately, they have like a top 15 or top 20 coach who can help propel them. But where do we put Doug? Where do we rank Doug these days, Devo? Top 15?
That's fair. I mean, when you're dealing with a lot of injuries, like RJ said, it's hard to slide him down too much, but he's not as high as I think Sean had him ranked.
Hey, let's not say things we can't take back.
Was that Sean McVay? Sean McVay you're talking about? Sean McVay?
Yeah, he was ranked below Sean McVay by he who shall not be named. That's why.
I'll just say this. I feel like we're allowed to say his name again since he came back on the podcast. I don't know if we want to make a ruling on that or if we just keep going the entire season.
That's fine. Sean ranked him last offseason. Sean Wagner McGuff, who used to be on this podcast and left it to go to law school, get stony baloney,
loser
in Boulder. Yeah. Thinking. How'd you go to law? How'd you leave a podcast to go to law? You're a full-time podcaster, an NFL writer, and you went to law school. Oh my goodness. Anyway, he had Pederson ranked like 7th or 9th or something like that behind McVay, and Eagles fans freaked out. And now it's hilarious because Eagles fans want Doug Pederson fired for some ridiculous reason. All right. Anyway, let's get to this game in particular. It is, as we mentioned, a 4.5-point spread. The Eagles minus 4.5, minus 240 on the money line. The over under 45. Some trends of note. The Eagles, shockingly awful recently. Carson Wentz in particular, awful against the spread. He's 12-21-0 against the spread over since 2018, which is just horrific. 7-14 against the spread as a favorite, including 0-3 this season. So this is all since 2018. 5-12 against the spread at home, including 1-2 against the spread, and 3-10 against the spread as a home favorite over that stretch. That is a 3-10 as a home favorite. The only he's the worst in the NFL since 2018 over the last 3 years. Phillip Rivers and Jimmy Garoppolo close behind him, but 23% covering. But there's a but here, RJ. He is 4-0 straight up or against the spread on Thursday, covering by an average of 11.1 points per game. The over in those games is 4-0 as well. And Wentz is also 7-2 against the spread on short rest in his career. Doug Pederson 5-0 straight up and against the spread on Thursday, covering by an average of 10.3 points per game. And the over is 4-1 in those games. So presumably the under hit the one game that Wentz did not play for Doug Pederson. Daniel Jones 0-3 straight up and against the spread in prime time. Ooh, Danny Dalton making an appearance for the Giants tonight. And Philly has won 7 consecutive games straight up against the Giants, but just 3-4 against the spread in that span. So what is your take, knowing that all those trends are maybe throwing well out the window? What is your take on this spread this evening, RJ?
I'll throw one more trend. It looks like all that lines up for Philly, but the Giants have covered in 7 straight away from MetLife, 6 straight road games. And then their last time that they didn't cover on the road, it was actually at MetLife against the Jets. So 7 straight away from MetLife. So this is a situation where they can come in, they can perform better than you think. I think the line's about right where it should be. So it's not a strong lean for me, but if I'm taking one side, I'm probably leaning to Philly. I mean, that offense has been ravaged by injury, but they scored points the last 3 weeks against several top defenses, San Francisco, Pittsburgh, Baltimore. I mean, you score 25 plus in each of those games. I know that the yardage probably wasn't there in all 3, but you got to be doing something right, to put up those point totals against those defenses. The Giants offense hasn't topped 300 yards all year. And I know they lost Saquon. They've had to deal with a few injuries at receiver, but it's nothing to the level of what Philly's dealt with. And that Giants offense just hasn't got on track. It's amazing to me that Jason Garrett wasn't able to fix this offense. Who knew? I guess tear up those Jason Garrett assistant coach of the year tickets. But
I guess if he doesn't have 4 Hall of Famers on the offensive line, he's just not as effective.
Yeah, it turns out he needs an offensive line to be good. So Philly's D is good enough to keep that offense in check. I think they'll ravage those tackles, and they'll keep Daniel Jones running for his life. So I do think Philly's going to win this. I've been impressed by what they've done over the last 3 weeks, even though they still have a terrible record. So I would lean to Philly.
Yeah, I think Philly is I don't know if it's a slam job here. Like, I wouldn't make it a best bet if it was on a Sunday, but I really like the Eagles in this spot. Again, I think when you look at the matchup, the offensive line is a concern for Philly, and Carson Wentz's performance is absolutely a concern for Philly. But the way that the strengths and weaknesses for these various teams lined up favors the Eagles, in my opinion. First of all, they get Lane Johnson back, the Eagles do, which is huge. I mean, when Lane Johnson plays, Carson Wentz is substantially better at quarterback, and that shouldn't be surprising. Lane Johnson's a great tackle. He's an all-pro. Deshaun Jackson is back too, and I think that matters because maybe he only catches 1 ball before he leaves again with an injury, but they actually have a reliable field stretcher who Carson Wentz knows he can trust. There is no one on the Giants, in my opinion. And James Bradbury's been good, but enjoys soaking up Travis Fulgham's targets because I don't think that James Bradbury will match up against Deshaun Jackson. That's not a particularly great matchup for him. And if he does it, then Wentz is going to have a field day throwing it to Fulgham. Is Zach Ertz? Zach Ertz is playing, right?
Zach Ertz is out.
Zach Ertz is out. That's
Richard
right.
Rodgers, TE1.
Wow. Somebody I saw, maybe it was Adam Levitan of Established a Run, was saying that he was like, Richard Rodgers was in his pickup league 2 weeks ago. like his YMCA pickup league.
Not Jason Kroom.
Jason Kroom.
Where did Jason Kroom go, Brinson?
He's not going to remember this.
I think that's the same thing you guessed on Sunday. Tennessee.
That's right.
Buffalo Bills tight end.
Yes, of course. Anyway, yes, Richard Rodgers, sneaky little guy you could also do DFS. We'll talk about that in a second. But and the other thing that matters too is that the strength of Philly's entire roster, the only thing that they're really good at this year is defensive line. And the one thing that Daniel Jones can't deal with because his offensive line stinks is a good defensive line that can pressure him. And when he gets pressured, he coughs up turnovers. I mean, like Daniel Jones is a turnover machine. They call it the Eagles. The Giants fans call him like Jameis Dimes or Jameis Jones or Daniel Winston or whatever they want to call it. They think he's like Jameis Winston when it comes to turning it over. I don't trust him in this spot. And I think the Eagles will get after him. And if it were 7 or something like that, I would take the Giants probably because I think they could backdoor it. But I just think the Eagles are going to pour it on here. I also like the under a lot.
Yeah, I would lean to the under too. Unders came back with a vengeance last week. I'm sure we'll talk about it in our big pick spot, but they went 10-4.
You didn't call it, but you seem to fear it. And
right.
Your fears came to fruition.
I've been saying for weeks, it's coming one of these weeks. That's why I didn't want to go all in on overs, but I tried to pick the week, I think in week 3 or 4, that this would be the unders week. And
I did too. And it just didn't happen.
So I'm just
you knew it was coming. I mean,
so just stay away from the totals till it happens because we knew it was coming. So these are 2 struggling teams. Their defenses are better than their offenses. So I do like the underplay here. You said Lane Johnson is back for Philly. This seems like a situation where he wouldn't play if they had anybody else, but he feels like he has to gut it out because of all the other injuries. Driscoll's hurt, as well. So it seems to me like a game where he's going to try to play. He'll get through one quarter, and then Brett Toth is going to be your right tackle, and good luck with that.
That's fair point.
So that also is a plus for the under because maybe the Eagles don't move the ball as well.
I mean, there's no Miles Sanders, no Zach Ertz. In fact, that's why I bet the under last week. Earlier this week, like Ertz and Sanders were ruled out. And I bet the under, and it moved down to 43.5. It's since come back up to 45, which is a little concerning.
Yeah, I think the line did that too. The line started at 6, I think 5.5. It went to 6 like right away, and then it plummeted to 3.5. I guess on the Ertz and Sanders news.
Yeah.
And then it's been gradually coming back up, and it's at 4.5 now.
Yeah. You know what? I'm not even going to worry about line movement in these days anymore. Just going to take what I like. All right, let's take a break. And when we come back, we'll talk props and DFS. All right. So player props or any props really. First touchdown, whatever you want to do, RJ. What floats your boat in this particular game? Because this is again, how you make football fun. This is a crappy football game. Nobody should really want to watch it, but you can bet on it. You can play DFS.
Yeah, I like Wentz going over 17.5 rushing yards. He's topped his total in 5 of his 6 games. So, the percentages in a regular game would seem to favor that. But he's also going to be without Miles Sanders. So maybe the Eagles have to create some more, yards with his legs than they would normally. They don't have a reliable back to hand it off to. So I think Wentz is going to either between scrambling because his line is not holding up, or between design runs is going to get over 17.5 since he's been doing that more often than not.
All right, I've got one. I will take Evan Engram under longest reception, 16.5 yards. That is a really low number. So it's juiced to the over. But Jason Garrett refuses to use Evan Engram in any other capacity than the Jason Witten short yardage, like little run to the flat, catch the ball and fall down capacity.
Yeah, it's kind of ridiculous. And his
best route is the seam route. He's great at running a seam route. Daniel Jones is like hits him all the time. They hit him all the time in those seam routes. Eli Manning hit him all the time in those seam routes. And Jason Garrett doesn't use him in that capacity. It's infuriating.
And this is the team you want to use him like that against. Remember, Travis Kelce destroyed. Was it? I think it was Kittle. George Kittle destroyed him a couple weeks ago. It was like 10 catches, 150 yards, 180 yards, whatever it was. So I think that the opportunity is there if they want to focus on Engram. But yeah, it has to come from Jason Garrett changing his game plan and to attack the Eagles that way. So maybe he will, but on a short week, you probably can count that out.
Would you take Wentz, hypothetically speaking, the rushing yard total at a different book would be 20.5 juice to the over? Would you still take Wentz's over?
Yeah, I said that he's covered the 17.5 in 5 of his 6. I think 2 of those he had 19 on the nose. So then you're crossing into that territory. But I think the last few weeks he's went like the 40-50 range. So I do think that's probably still going to hit. Probably more often than not. It's just obviously not as strong as 17.5.
Okay. Anything else that pops up for you?
Yeah, we think that Bradbury's going to be on Fulgham, but I still like Fulgham's over 4.5 receptions. I mean, he is the passing offense. And even if Deshaun Jackson comes back, Deshaun Jackson isn't like a number 1 receiver you're throwing all your targets to. He's the field stretcher. So Fulgham's had 16 catches on 23 targets over the last 2 weeks. I think that his role is going to be stable, and Jackson's going to take those John Hightower big shot kind of plays. So I think Fulgham's still going to get a ton of targets, even more maybe because Sanders and Ertz are out. So in the short to mid-range game, I think you just pepper Fulgham over and over. So even if Bradbury's doing a good job, I still like his chances to get to 5 catches for 40 yards at the very least.
Brinson, if you can find it, long shot prop, Jalen Hurts, first touchdown scorer. Not available everywhere, but it's something I like.
Okay. Debo, anything else you like? Because I know that you are, Debo loves to do over on, oh my God, am I forgetting the Joel Embiid's points scored in all the Philly games. Is there something else that you're sort of on here?
Something I do frequently, and the 1 week I didn't do it is when it would have paid off well, is Carson Wentz first touchdown scorer with Eagles money line. That was more beneficial when they were underdogs, but that's a weekly parlay for me.
I don't have first touchdown up. That's annoying. But can we get Hurts? Let me see if I can do a player, a custom player. No, they haven't really fleshed out these props completely yet. In fact, I don't even know. I was going to look at Corey Clement rushing yards. That one kind of intrigues me because I bet that it would be low. Let's see what they could. Nope, can't even get it right now.
I know that Hurts isn't on the board for first touchdown at William Hill. So
he's not?
No.
Can you even bet him on? Wait, Hurts isn't on the.
Not on the board.
Man, that's frustrating. Usually there's a field too, but it didn't, or like you can do any other Eagles player, but the odds aren't very great. You can do Jason Kroom, first touchdown scorer, 40-1.
What are the odds JJ Arcega-Whiteside falls on the ball in the end zone for a touchdown?
Well, 66-1 for the first. Anytime JJ Arcega-Whiteside falling on the ball is 12-1.
You got to love those odds because, he's done it one out of every 6 weeks. So
I saw a friend of the podcast, our buddy Chris Long, tweeted. He's like, there it is. Told you Arcega-Whiteside was going to have a breakout this year. And everybody's like, that doesn't count as a touchdown, you moron. It's like, are you guys serious? Like, why are you people so stupid?
Also take one more, the under 49.5 receiving yards for Darius Slayton. He's been limited by a foot injury in practice. That's a tough injury to manage on a short week. You could see him playing fewer snaps than he usually would. It's also possible Sterling Shepard comes back. I'll talk about that a little bit in DFS. He's on the IR right now, but they could activate him at some point Thursday before the game. So I think that Slayton probably is in for a little bit less work than he usually would have. So I think he might go under those yards.
Yeah, I saw his over 3.5 receptions and initially thought, ooh, I kind of like that. It's juice to the over, but I was like, but what if he's banged up and they pull him and he didn't play a full game? That would be concerning. These touchdown prices are obscene. Travis Fulgham plus 163, Evan Engram 2-1, Wentz 2.5-1 anytime touchdown. Are you kidding me? Like that's a crazy price. John Hightower 4-1 anytime touchdown. What are we doing here? John Hightower? I love John Hightower, but come on.
Yeah, you can. I like putting two of them together in the specials part of William Hill. There's a Deshaun Jackson and Evan Engram to score touchdowns prop at 8-1. I think Jackson is a great candidate for a long score now that he's back. We thought that we said we think Bradbury's going to be on Fulgham. I don't think they have anybody that can cover Jackson deep. So all he needs is one, target, and he might get a touchdown.
Ooh, I like Deshaun Jackson 12-1 first touchdown too.
That's a possibility too. And then Engram, the Eagles have allowed 6 touchdowns to tight end so far. So if the Giants can get near the red zone, I think that's where you got to throw it to Engram there. So I think both of those guys are probably scoring touchdowns today.
All right. You said Lane Johnson, he might be hobbled and be out after the first quarter. I just have no faith in Deshaun lasting past the first quarter, what we've seen from him. So that's my concern with those props with Deshaun.
Hey, first quarter touchdown counts just like any other one.
Okay, I don't know that. Do I love my Evan Engram under longest reception? I don't know if I love that as my flag plant prop because I think last week, I don't know if you know this, on last Thursday. Did the Chiefs play last Thursday or was that last Monday?
There was no Thursday night game last week.
There was no Thursday. That's what it was. I was like, what is happening? The last primetime game, my flag plant prop was over carries for Clyde Edwards-Helaire, and it shattered. You know what? I'm going to take instead. I'm going to take over. This will be my flag plant prop. I think this is a lock. Over Daniel Jones rushing yards 28.5.
Yeah, I talked about that in the article I wrote about this game. I lean that way too. It's just based on his game by game production, but it's still a little bit high. It's a high number for quarterbacks, so I do think he can get there. They don't have much else in the rushing game, but I like the Wentz one a little bit better, so that's why I wrote it down to highlight here.
Yeah, well, you said Wentz, so I couldn't go Wentz too. But I agree with you. I think the Wentz one is a good one as well. I don't hate Devonta Freeman's total either. Total, especially William Hill, you can do total rushing and receiving yards 75.5. All right, let's get to DFS. By the way, just got a CBS Sports alert. I don't know if you saw this, Devo. Zach Ertz out 4 to 6 weeks.
6-9-1.
Do we know when Goddard's coming back?
I am not sure.
That's on a sooner timeline. I think he still might be like 2 to 3 weeks away, though.
Yeah, I think I dug around for it this week, and I didn't really see anything. So I was wondering if you had any inside info being locked into the Philly scene.
And Mike Garafolo of NFL Media reports that Sterling Shepard still plans to, quote, at least try to give it a go versus the Eagles. Won't know for sure until he tested here at the link later, but there's optimism he's back tonight. So certainly, I think I like playing those under on the slate and props. That's not a bad idea. You got to play it now because if Shepard is in, they're going to drop, right?
You would think, yeah.
All right, let's talk DFS on this game, RJ. This feels like this is a game where I think if you're going to play it, that you need to be aware that the chalk is going to be defenses. Like I think a lot of maybe somebody like I think you'll see a lot of people play 2 crappy defenses in this game.
It's possible, but I mean these teams are 1-4, 1-5. Is anybody really going to have like faith in the Giants defense? I can't really see that happening. So
we're touchdown.
I put my lineup together. I briefly was going to put the Giants in there or maybe the Eagles in there. And I was just like, you know what? No, I think it's going to go under, but I can't see them generating many turnovers either. It's just, maybe the Eagles get some on Daniel Jones, so you can look to play them, but I'm not playing him in a captain role.
Well, I mean, look, Carson Wentz is 16-2 at captain. Daniel Jones 15-6. Miles Sanders is out. Darius Slayton is 13-8 and he's hurt. Travis Fulgham is 13-2 and he's wearing a blue shirt that looks like he's on the Giants in this when you scroll through the DraftKings thing. Boston Scott 12-6. Evan Engram 12 even. Dallas Goedert out. Devontae Freeman 11-1. Alshon Jeffrey out. Sterling Shepard, as we mentioned, might come back. Golden Tate 9-9. Zach Ertz out. And then the next 2 guys up are Jalen Hurts, Nate Sudfeld, and then followed by that Colt McCoy and then Deshaun Jackson, Jalen Reagor on IR. I mean, this is a hot mess out here.
Yeah, I think your best bet for captain is to take one of the Wentz Fulgham, tandem. I think Wentz is your best bet with no Sanders. He's going to have to throw to move the ball. He's going to run a little more than we think. He could get in the end zone. Debo was talking about he likes playing his touchdown scoring prop. He gets you a rushing touchdown in addition to whatever he does passing. You've got to feel really good about that. The Giants do have a good run defense, so maybe they're trying to run Boston Scott and Corey Clement, and it's just not working. And Wentz has to do more with his arm. So I think he's your best option, even at the 16.2 thousand price. And then Fulgham's clearly the number one option in the offense. If you think that Bradbury is going to move around more, maybe play some Jackson. Maybe he doesn't make that much of a difference because they just have to throw to Fulgham so much. You could play him at 13 too. So he'd be the somewhat non-obvious play for me. I think my lineup, I might do that just so I can get both quarterbacks in.
Yeah, you can pretty easily jam in whatever you want here, I think. Like if you want to get both quarterbacks in, you can do a Carson Wentz captain, Travis Fulgham, Daniel Jones, Darius Slayton. So you have, in theory, the 2 top pass catchers, unless Evan Engram goes off. I think you may be right about Engram. I kind of like him as a play this week with the Eagles getting carved up by defenses. You could surely Jason Garrett's going to watch some film and say, maybe I can change up what we do with this former first round pick, right?
You would think he'd watch some film. Short week, but yeah, Ingram is my best sleeper caption option, but it's not that much of a discount at 12,000. Philly's allowed 377 yards and 6 touchdowns to tight ends in 6 games. A lot of that was Kittle, but not all of it was Kittle. And then my other sleeper captain option, if he in these GPP leagues, is Deshaun Jackson. Nobody's going to play him. Maybe he re-injures himself and he's out. But if not, if you can get through the whole game, he might hit a couple big plays deep. So if you can get 4 catches for 110 yards and 2 touchdowns, maybe that's enough to make him the best captain of the day of the slate. And nobody's really going to use him at 8.7 thousand. At that point, you do anything else you want with your lineup, obviously.
Yeah. And look, conversely, I know you don't like the defenses, and I know the defenses stink, but as I pointed out, the defensive line for Philly is going to get after Daniel Jones. And I don't think they're a terrible captain option. If you go Eagles defense at captain, you can get in Carson Wentz, Travis Fulgham, Deshaun Jackson, Daniel Jones, and Golden Tate. Not terrible.
Or a kicker.
Yeah, or I actually immediately plugged in Graham Gano and Jake Elliott. I mean, look, kickers are people too, to paraphrase Rich Eisen. And on these showdown slates, kickers can win it for you. And does it matter to you? I mean, I think certainly the Giants will be willing to kick no matter what. Doug Pederson a little more aggressive.
Yeah, the Giants have gone to the red zone 16 times this season. They have 4 touchdowns. So you're going to be kicking a lot of field goals in that situation.
Get Graham Gano in your lineups.
Yeah, throw Gano in there. He's a little bit cheaper than Elliott because he plays for the worst team, but he's the better option. He scored more points, and the Giants have shown a propensity for kicking. So I definitely will find a way to get him in. My lineup's going to have right now Fulgham in the GPP, Fulgham at the captain, because I want to take advantage of the possibility that the quarterbacks don't do as well. And then both quarterbacks in, obviously you want to just pile up points for them. Engram and then both kickers. And just hopefully it's a touchdown to Engram, a couple touchdowns to Fulgham, and field goals from there. And I think I can get into the cash right with that situation.
Yeah. And then you hope that Fulgham just goes nuts.
Right.
Torches Bradbury, or Bradbury's on Deshaun Jackson. I do like your idea of Deshaun Jackson as a captain, by the way. I think Deshaun Jackson is, and we've seen him do it in the last 2 years. Week 1 last year against the Washington football team, he has the potential with his stat line to break the slate and to be where he catches 2 long touchdowns. Now, obviously you want Wentz in there as well, but I mean, if he catches 2 long touchdowns, he could be a guy that absolutely just wins you a crap ton of money because he breaks the one deep.
Right. And if you throw him in there, you can switch, your Jake Elliott selection all the way up to Boston Scott or Devontae Freeman, or, if Shepard comes back, you can go with him. Or if you're willing to take down on Evan Engram a little bit, maybe you can get the Fulgham. But then picking from the same group of questionable players there, the Tates and Shepards and those guys.
Yeah. All right. Good stuff. Way to make chicken salad out of a real chicken poo game here, Debo. RJ and Debo as well. Debo, we wish you the best of luck in your future endeavors this evening.
Appreciate that. Maybe on the recap, we can start saying Travis Fulgham's name correctly.
Did I call him Todd Fulgham again?
There's no R in there. That's
Fulcrum. Is it me, just me, or is everybody doing that? Just me.
Just you.
I mean, in Philly at this point, we just call him Travis. Big T.
Well played, Devo. All right. Good show. See ya.